Good Susan.
Also.
Tashidele Loprukso Anita Stelikian la Kusudewimbe.
Oh, Debayin Testele, Cynthia Testele, and Lobru Solayang Testele, and Cynthia, not Debayin, and Charan, Kande.
Oh, yeah, they would listen that Gela every time asks me differently how I'm doing so that you can learn the different questions. La so Gela, Tujise, and the way the Wudikian. La solo bruto. So this is your part number 2 of lesson 18 and 19 regarding the nominalizers and relative clauses. So today we are introducing you to how to make relative clauses in the context of the 2 nominalizers or 3 that we haven't taught yet, which are sa, pa, and yo, which are used pretty much interchangeably. So let's get into it, shall we? So I'm going to share my screen so that you get to see. Okay, so the nominalizers sa, pa, and yo. Let's start with sa. So how do we form a nominalized verb with sa? It is the same as we have been learning with yak and ken. The verb is in the present future, followed by sa. Now, sa is a very versatile nominalizer. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger, see if you can see. Gena tonggidugai.
Tonggidu.
Oh, payable. It is used to form both nominal and relative clauses. What is a nominal clause? You will see in the examples in a minute the difference. This is a very important difference in the grammar, okay? It might be a little tricky if you try to understand exactly the grammatical aspect of it linguistically, and that's not the point of this lesson. I don't want you to have to struggle with these terms, but you will see from the examples what I mean. It is a very useful nominalizer because you can employ it actually when you don't remember the name of something or you don't know the exact word for something. Sa always implies or indicates the place or the location upon which an action is taking place, or it also indicates what we call in grammar the goal or the indirect object of the action, which can either be a place or a person. This is a very subtle topic that will require a little bit of time. That's why I've put it in red so that you can try and keep it in mind. For example, in the word pusa, pul is to offer, okay? So what is a pusa? It can mean 2 things. Either the place where, as I've highlighted here, you make offerings, such as a monastery, a stupa, or any, sacred ground in which you go and you actually make physical offerings. But the puisa is also a person to whom you make the offerings, because it becomes the indirect object of your act or your action of giving or offering to. Remember, we say you offer to someone. So this to gets transformed into the sa. And therefore, that can be a lama, for example, or, the statue of the Buddha, or the destination, let's say, for your offering, or the one that is receiving it, your recipient, actually. Okay, so those are 2 very important, crucial meanings of sa. Now, another important aspect that you will see in the sentences that we're going to give you next is that the tense aspect with sa has to be either deduced from the context or from the verbal auxiliaries that conjugate the ending verb, because you can use sa in all tenses, present, past, and future. And the verbal inflection, the verb root before sa is always in the present future. So we will not know from the sa clause what is happening there. So we have to look at the end of your sentence to see the result of that. Now let's give some examples. Here are some examples of words that if you forget certain vocabulary, then you can know that by using a verb with a sa, it means this specific thing that we're talking about. So it's very useful in day-to-day conversation. So here we go. Again, would you be so kind in reading them for us, please?
Also, tisa, tisa,
And tisa is the synonym of what word here?
Chitip.
A cheated, or in our case of Genla and I, when we are in the physical classroom, could be also a karpang. So what is a tisa? Is a place, sa, okay, upon which the action of T is happening. What is T? Is to write. So a place upon which one writes can be, this is my tisa, my notebook, because I write here. This is the physical place that takes my action of writing. Does that make sense? Now, in the case of the karpang, the whiteboard is also the place where Genla and I write, so it's also our tisa. So you see that the beauty of these words with the sa means that it goes a lot further beyond just one. It's not just a titip or a karpang, but it englobes all of those things. The same thing for Genla, here we go.
Sasa.
Which is synonym to the word sakang, right?
Sakang.
Sorry again, I think our delayed made it that I spoke at the same time that you did. I'm sorry. So a sasa is a place where one eats, but it is also the object used for eating. So my plate could be a sasa as well. Okay, because that is the place upon which the action of eating is happening too. Then we have the next word. So I'm going to let Genla say for you.
That's all. Tungsa.
And
then synonym is we have kayo and porba.
Thank you, Genla. So tungsa is the place where one drinks in the sense of the actual cup, like the kayu, or the porpa, this beautiful type of Tibetan bowls that are made with wood and wooden bowls that are ancient and really beautiful. That could be a tungsa, right? But so this is my tungsa. I don't know if you can see my video. So this is my thermos. This is my tungsa for now as well. Okay.
Yeah, so this is very, very useful. Sa, you can, if you don't know the porba, you don't know the kayo, you can just use tungsa. And then it's the context tells you. Also, we here can be also, if you say cha tungsa, it can be the chakang. You know, chakang is the tea shop. So cha tungsa can be also tea shop. So, so that has a very vast meaning. Sa, you can create lots of vocabs. So sa can this nominalizer very good. That's
Exactly. Thank you, Genna. It's very useful, very useful. Then we have the place where one sleeps or upon which one sleeps, which is the next one.
Lasso, nyesa.
So the nyesa or the
Nyenchi.
So the T, we've learned that T means a throne. So the throne upon which one sleeps or lies down, the nyel, that's a nice way to say nyesa. But you know, nyesa doesn't just indicate the bed or the mattress upon which one sleeps, or if you sleep on the floor, some people like to sleep on the floor, then that it's not just that, but the nyesa also indicates the room in which you sleep, right? So if you're showing your house to a friend that's coming to visit you, and you're showing, oh, this is my room, then you would say nyesa, right? So that they know that is the place where usually the room is where one sleeps. So that is also how we can understand it. The next word is,
for nyasa also can be, we can use also for the guest house, similar to like desa or nyesa. Kirangla nyesa yobe. So we can, it can be also guest house, similar to like kirangla desa. Okay, let's go to next.
Exactly. So then we have the place to stay or a room, or even this one is really versatile because it can mean a lot of different things. Let's again.
Desa, yangna shuksa. Shuksa is shesare, honorific. And then there are lots of synonyms. kupja, chair, right? Nang, home, kangba, house, kangmik, rooms. And then it could be also drongkang, you know, guest house, similar to like nyasa. So, yeah, there can be lots of other meanings too.
That's right. We can talk about a lama's shuksa, a lama's seat, like in not just the seat where the lama sits, but where the lama resides, their residence, their abode. You know, it has a lot of meaning. So this is a very versatile one. Now, pusa, I'm just going to say it because it's the one we saw in the example. So pusa can be a chöten or a lama, like we said in the example. So either a stupa or a lama, a guru to whom one makes an offering. So the place or the recipient for offerings. Okay, the next one is the place where towards which one goes, or the path or the trail. This is very useful. So I'm going to let Gemma say this to you too.
So, dosa, and then synonym is lamka.
Taktare. Very good. Thank you, Genla. And then we have the last one, which is the place where one buys, or the shopping place. Could be also these two different ones.
So, nyosa. So, nyosa can be also tom, market, can be shop, songkang. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you forget the word chom, or sometimes it's a little hard to pronounce, then you just say nyosa and everyone will understand. So it's a very good way to get out of certain situations. Also, if you're forgetting a word or you're not sure, then you can be inventive. So this is something I wanted to say to students. You can be a little bit creative with the language. Once you know your vocabulary and your verbs well, then you can be a little bit creative. So that's kind of very, very useful. So
yeah, so just one thing for the nyosa, if you are looking for like stage shop, right? So you have to use kunda nyosa. Okay, if you're looking for a prayer flag shop, you can use lungda chonggang. So this is also important. So what kind of shop or market you are looking for? And then you use that noun like lungda chonggang, kunda chonggang, yeah, kushu chonggang, like fruit shop, xingdou chonggang, yeah, fruit shop, right? So you can use like this. So that's all.
Thank you again, La. That's very useful. So now, particularly for this nominalizer, because it is so useful, as you have seen it in these kinds of new words that we're giving you, we're going to now show you how to use it in both nominal clauses, meaning in that particular use, and then in relative clauses, which is the new chapter, the really new topic for today. All right, there's going to be a difference in the use grammatically of these two, so please bear with us. So here are some nominal clauses that Genla will read for you.
That's 당보디 그발라 대사 두개.
Okay, so is there a place to stay in the monastery, or not just a place to stay? Here I just translated that, but now you know that. Let's say you walk into a monastery and it is full of people. Maybe the Lama is giving a wang, an empowerment, and there are so many people, right? And you're trying to find a seat so that you can sit there and receive the teachings or the wang and be there for a little while. But let's say you're talking to a friend who's there and you're not really sure if there's going to be any space for you to sit down. You could ask this question. Or if you're on your way to the monastery and you call your friend to figure out if you can bring a bunch of friends with you to also receive the empowerment or not. And then you're asking, oh, is there a place? You know, is there enough place for all of us basically there to sit down? So that can be also the meaning. Does that make sense? So very useful. Lasso tener.
Lasso. So
there's your example that you just made, Genla.
Oh yeah. 새 녀석 가봐요래.
Taktare. Again, I was just talking about it, right? So where's the place to buy vegetables? Where is my vegetable shop, basically? Let it.
알았어. 되네 디네 최대라 들어서 여름에 양자 디네 최대라 들어서 여름에.
So, is there a road or a path from here to the stupa? So, dine, here, the ne particle that we've been using and seeing so much in the classroom, from here, from this point until the stupa, is there a path? So, tene.
디네 디 차동사 레샤. 디 차동사 레샤.
Oh, this is a place. Oh, and that 6 shouldn't really be there. Sorry. Okay. Oh, this is a tea place. So maybe with the resha, it can mean a lot of different things, as I've written here kind of as a joke. It can be either a little bit of disappointment because maybe you thought it was a bar and you realize that it's only a tea shop, or also cha tungsa resha, for example. Okay, you know, if somebody gives me this thermos and I thought it was used for, you know, maybe a coffee thermos. I usually don't like to mix coffee thermos and tea because they have very different flavors and they impregnate the material. And so maybe when I open it, I thought that it was actually my coffee mug. And when I open it and I see that it smells like tea, I say, oh, chatung saresha instead. Okay, so that can be another way of understanding this sentence. Lasso, tene.
페베 괸바 테솔라 곰 약사 여르베.
Taktare. Is there a place to meditate or for meditation in those Tibetan monasteries? That's so. I don't think I need to explain more about this sentence.
이네 찜바땅사 가바요레.
So this is you might ask why we gave this sentence. Well, it's kind of an important sentence to know. Where is the place where one can urinate? So Chimpatang is not a bad word in Tibetan. In other cultures, it might be a little strange to use it, but in Tibetan, it isn't really. I mean, depends who you're talking to, of course. But it is not rude to say Chimpatang sang kawayore instead of saying sang che kawayore, like where's the bathroom? You could say Chimpatang sang ragenla. What do you think about this?
Lare tigire. Yeah, it's also very normal. But also for the friend, also good to use. But generally, for the unknown person, it's better use Sangju Kabayore.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is Yarab Yarab.
Yes, exactly. Again, I'm saying that it can be a little bit, it's a little more polite to say Sangchu, you mean, right?
Yeah. Sangchu Kabayore.
Yeah, again, like saying the word yarab, which means it's a little higher education. It's a little more polite to say sangche. But if you're in the context with friends, it is not disrespectful to say chimpatang. Or like if you need to go to the bathroom, you're saying, chimpatang ka dogiin. I'm going to urinate, and that's normal. That's for daily conversation with friends or people you're close to, it's okay. Okay, so now relative clauses. Okay, this is a very big topic, and Genla and I want to condense it, abbreviate it, and make it as straightforward and simple as possible. All you need to know for this class, it's a very deep topic that we can spend months talking about it actually and studying it. And you just know that you will refine it as you continue your studies in Tibetan. And this is just a little taste, a very short introduction because we don't have a lot of time, okay? So keep it within that context, please. We're just giving you the tip of the iceberg. Now, relative clauses with sa are those where you mean to say something like, the place where I went for shopping. The friend that I spoke to yesterday. So this, that, where, which, who, or whom are these relative pronouns, as we call them in English grammar, that introduce two clauses in your sentence. The place where I went for shopping, usually you would continue and you would say, is far away from my house. You have two separate clauses it's one sentence, but it's two clauses. I'm saying it's far away from my house. What is far away from my house? The place where I went shopping. So place becomes qualified by the relative clause. Another way to understand it, to make it very simple for you, if you're thinking, what is this word relative clause? It is just like an adjective. You know how when in Tibetan we say pepe poumon, it's very similar to that. Tibetan girl. So you could have the word poumon with a relative clause before, with this connective particle. So I could say kecha se poumon nge chogmo re. That the girl to whom I'm speaking is my friend. Okay, so everything that comes before poumon is like an adjective, is qualifying the poumon. If you keep that in mind, it'll be very simple to understand the function of a relative clause. That's my little trick to you. So now let's look at it carefully. The verb is always in the present future form, as we've explained it in the beginning of the lesson. And then sa with akikui. You need the connective particle to make a relative clause with sa. You really need it. That's just how it is. And then the rest of your sentence, your main verb, your verbal auxiliary. This is important, like we were saying in the introduction. In order for us to know what tense the sa or the se relative clauses is designating in the sentence, is only shown by the ending verb and ending auxiliary. Okay, so now I won't explain much more because Gemma and I have given you examples here where we have two sentences first, separately, so that you can see the two clauses that I'm talking about, and then how we can put those two clauses into one to make one relative clause. Okay, so here you're going to see the stages and you can learn how to make them. Okay, Genna, your turn.
Lasso, Cynthia, then the formula is rochida.
Oh, Lasso.
Okay, so here we see the verb in present and future. This is 100% not how say fixed, because we also based on the Lhasa dialect, right? So you can also see in the many of verbs you can see in the past form, right? So these days can be past form. Also like poon, that is also past.
Oh,
so a lot of Lhasa people used all this in the how say in the all three tenses they use in the past form. But grammatically also is also we need to think it's depend on the tense what we are talking. So maybe this is better. Depend on the tense we are talking. If we are talking like future, it's good to use future. Future and present is pretty much similar. If we are talking in the past, it's good to use past form. So it's depend on the it's depend on the tense. So and also you see a lot of in the sentence the past form of the verb. So that could be in the sentence. Lasso Cynthia ya chiktang rona.
Lasso Genna.
Pena. So here we see nge omate se shimite nyingjepotu. Because it's talking in the past. That's why here also this is a very how to say reason, because the verb in also in the past form. So that's why it's depend on the how to say the tense. Okay.
Lasso. So again, did we do this one too?
Lasso nge omate se shimite nyingjepotu.
So this is really, so you see, we have nge shimi la oma trebayin. So I'm just going to explain the first one, and the next ones you can just study and pause on your own, okay? So that we don't make this recording too long for you all. There's a lot of information here, but let me just explain the first one. We have the la particle. This is really important to understand. I gave milk to the cat. The cat is the one I gave milk to. So the cat is my destination, my recipient for my action. All right. So in the relative clause, the la here of the shimi la, to whom I gave the milk, becomes the sa with the akikui, te se. So if you take just this part, te se shimi means the cat to whom something was given, the cat to which something was given. This is the part that becomes very important here. Te se shimi, okay? So shimi la becomes te se shimi, if that makes any sense. So you combine the two sentences by getting rid, obviously, of some of the initial particles. So the la is going to become your sa, basically. And you just change the order of the sentence. So you have to start with the verb, because that's how the relative clause is made. Verb plus the sa, and then the akikui, because it's the relative clause, and then the shimi, because you are qualifying the shimi. You're explaining what happened to the shimi. Okay, so hopefully that is clear. If you have questions, please, we will answer them during the review session. But keep that in mind as you continue to read the next sentences. Lasso gela.
Lasso tene kesa sakang la chimbayin sakang ki kala de shimbo shira chung. Okay, siktup ni tua. So now in one sentence, kesa ngat rose sakang ki kala de shimbo shira chung. Okay. Lasso.
Same thing. So I won't explain. You can just take time to really dissect it on your own time by yourselves. But you have all the explanations there. Lasso, I'm just going to do the translation of the relative clause. Sorry, I'll just do that. The food of yesterday's restaurant to which I went, or basically, this is not very good English. Huh? I'm just writing it so that you understand what it is. But where I went to was delicious. Oh, lasso gena.
Lasso tene nge pomodila kabochiki kong gegen mare. Nge kabochese pomodi gegen mare. Lasso.
So the girl whom I love, or that I love, is not a teacher. All right. So gabuche really means to actively love somebody. When you say nga oma kare nga chala gabuyo, I like tea, then it's like gabuyo is I have the liking for tea. Now gabuche here just makes it more emphatic that you are experiencing, you are loving someone actively. So that's what it is. Not very important to focus on the vocabulary, but more on the actual structure of the relative clause. And I've given you this sentence because with these verbs of effect, because we always have a la, then the sa particle with the akikui, the nominalizer, so the relative clauses with sa and se are going to become a lot more prevalent. That's why this example is chosen. Hola, sotene.
Lasso, keranki pumuchigla medo tresum, pumude sure. Keranki mendo trese pumude sure.
Who is the girl to whom you offered the flower? Okay. If I were to recommend to memorize one sentence to help you really integrate this material and be able to come up with a sentence really fast when you're trying to practice it, I would recommend to really memorize this one because it's easy. It is simple vocabulary. You know the words, you know the verbs. So keep this in mind maybe, okay? And this is what I was saying before, that pumo can be, like everything that comes before pumo can be understood as an adjective. It is not an adjective, but it's how we make adjectives. So it's the same formula, basically. Lasso.
Lasso. Then losanki, although we also pronounce this as like lopsang. Remember in our orientation. Lopsanki, lamala, kandishugi yore. Lama te za chembore. Okay, in two sentences. The next to chigla, lopsanki, kandishuse, lama te za chembore.
Exactly. So that I'm going to read the translation for the relative clause. The lama to whom Lobsang is asking a question is very important.
Okay. Here I remember that. Sorry, I did a little bit mistake that I said if we are talking in the past, we have to use the past form. It's not that. The formula which Cynthia wrote is totally correct. And then the main thing is this formula is correct. Verb in present and future, not in the past. And the people use lots in the past like de or pul, like pulsa. They use a past form. De also tangsa All these we base on the Lhasa dialect. Okay, keep this. Otherwise, the real form of the verb should be present and future. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like we saw some nominalizers like nyosa, tungsa, sasa, and then if we turn into like past form, sesa doesn't work. So it should be keep in the present and future form. Present and future is very similar. Okay, this is just to clarify.
Thank you so much, Genna. That's very useful. Thank you.
Russell.
Okay, so hopefully the first introduction of the relative clauses will be it's easy or it made sense. We still have to practice relative clauses with yak and ken, which we studied in our previous lesson, but we only introduced it as nominalizers without the relative clauses. So I wanted to make sure you first got into the habit of relative clauses with sa, because it might be the more direct. And then we will provide you with a handout where you can practice all of them, okay? So, and we will do it in the classroom as well. So just know that now here we're only introducing you to the relative clauses with sa and pa, otherwise this video would become 2 hours long. So I'm going to try and keep it short. The nominalizers pa and gyo, they are used to refer to past actions generally, especially pa, okay? In this lesson, we're going to work with them in the context of relative clauses mainly. Pa does a lot of important things in classical Tibetan, and it's a very important particle in the grammar usually, and we could study it in depth for a long time. So again, here it is just a preview of what we can do with it. It is usually used in the context of written or classical Tibetan, even though in spoken Tibetan, it can be used as well. But maybe it is more limited to the past actions that we are talking about. Now, in the context of spoken language, the spoken language, gyo, this nominalizer gyo, which you're not really going to find a real spelling for it. Gela gives us this spelling as being maybe one of the most common ones, but because it's really an oral, it's a spoken expression, you won't really find it written down in the dictionary. So it might, in different grammar books or Tibetan books that you might pick up, you might see it spelled in many different ways actually, okay? So don't get too attached to the spelling of it. Anyway, it is used really, really frequently, and it is, its meaning and its functions are really interchangeable with pa in that case. And the relative clauses that are created, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the PDF because all of a sudden my Word is stopped working and we're not going to be able to look at the sentences. So please just bear with me for 1 second until I can open our PDF. Oh, I didn't make a PDF. Oh, again, I think I didn't make a PDF of it.
All right. This goes on a kali.
It's taking time. What can we do?
Okay, also here I also didn't make the sentence for the job, but normally you can just interchange change this pa and job. I will try to make few sentences for this because this job is also you can't find in the Francisca's book, right, Cynthia? Because exactly. This one is the Cynthia and I just add like extra in the before maybe a few years ago. This we found this is really useful in the daily life when we are going to tea show, when we are going to shopping. We use this jo is a lot, then the more common than the pa. Okay, pa is more like how say literating way, and the colloquial we use jo is very common. That's why we just add. I think this is not in the Francisca's book.
Exactly, Gela. Tujiche taktare. Sorry, I had to quit and then I'm starting again so that we can see it. Yes, Gela, can you tell us a little bit about your, while I open the document, maybe how common it is, like in just daily conversation?
Lasso. So pena nga chonggang la doi. I'm going to like a bookshop, maybe stationery, and then I'm asking to the shopkeeper. So I can say kerang la. So here is a lot of different colors of the pen. So kerang la nyuku 장구 당 원보 당 낙보 여조 여배. So that means kerang la nyuku 장구 is green, nakpo is black, and then marpo is red. Okay. So kerang la nyuku 장구 tang nakpo tang marpo yojo yebe. So do you have the pen which has these colors, red and green and black, right? So in a shop, okay. Also we can do in the tea shop, or like let's say restaurant sakangla. So if I say, do you have bread which has like eggs? Yeah, bread and egg. That's let's say bread and bread with potato is better, because in Nepal there's like potato bread. So we can say for the potato we say shoko. Kerang la parlip shoko yo yebe. Parlip shoko yo yebe. That means, do you have potato bread? And then also we say to if you have the tea with salt, okay, tea without salt. So we can ask kerang la 진 차유요 차유배. We can also say 차탕 or 차낙보, black tea. So kerang la 차유요 차탕 유배. 차탕 is black tea. Do you have black tea with salt?
Oh,
okay. And then we can also say kerang la 오차 찐이 매죠. 오 체마가라 매죠 예배. Do you have the milk tea without sugar? Okay, 매죠 예배. So yeah, we can use in any shops also we can use. Suppose we know the gold, right? Gold is silver, and then we have a statue, right? Kundra. So if you go to the statue shop, if you say, do you have a statue with gold? Yeah. So kerang la silver yo kundra yebe.
Ah, that's a very nice example, Genla, with the kundra.
Yes. Yes.
So can you now see my screen?
통계도.
Lasso. Okay. So here are the examples that we are giving you with pa, with pe as a relative clause, and with gyo as well. So what Genlan just said, we have tried to also mirror it in some of these examples. So what you just heard, you're going to see it written down now as well. Lasso Genla, we're ready for you.
Lasso, dene rinpoche nangbe sungju de pendo chenpochung.
Okay, so the Dharma talk that Rinpoche bestowed or gave was greatly beneficial for me.
Lasso. Kesa nge sube tsikjate nge chokpe tungsong.
My friend, drank the coffee that I made yesterday. So this is what I'm talking about, the fact that the relative clauses with pa are usually indicating an action that was started in the past tense, okay? So this is what I mean by that. Lasso. The next example has this gyo, which is really common in daily conversation, as we were saying to you.
Lasso. ngala chachini yogyojik nangro.
Please give me one tea with sugar, which is the equivalent of saying sweet tea, especially when we are in the context of drinking tea with Tibetan friends and people in Nepal, then that's how you could say it. Chini yogyo, which literally means the tea that has chini. So you have the yo here. The yogyo and megyo are used a lot to describe food items, as we were saying. The something that has, you know, the potatoes with cheese, without cheese, chili potatoes, potatoes without chili, kind of a thing, as Genla was explaining. Momos with vegetables or without, like that. So this is super common in daily conversation. So next one, please.
라서 되네 체랑 oma mejo sikjala gabuyebe.
Oh, 다ktare. So do you like coffee without milk? So here is the same as before, but instead we're using the me, oma meyo. So without or lacking the oma, okay? 다ktare. Tene.
라서 되네 땡진 키 뉴베 모라테 뷰가 탁보 뷰가 약보도. Okay.
So the car that Tenzin bought is good quality. So nyope here indicates it happened before. And the do, we don't know if I'm saying the whole sentence. It depends on the context, whether the car was good quality or is still good quality. We don't know. It depends really, because the nyope happened in the past tense. It can still be a car that he bought and that he's still driving, or that could be a past tense. We don't know. A context will tell you that, okay?
라서 되네 콩기 뉴베 베제테조 짜침부도. Or we can say also 콩기 뉴조 기 베제테조 짜침부도.
So those pechas that she or he bought are very sacred. Again, the same thing in the sentence could be were very sacred, depends past tense or not. So this, again, is the same. And then the second sentence is with the gyo. Nyogyo kitep or nyogyo tep. The ki is optional when you're using the gyo, okay? So you see that the ki or the akikui is the connective particle that should be there. With the gyo, it can just disappear because people are speaking very quickly. And they are, usually the connective particle is one of the particles that people omit the most in daily conversation. But we're putting it in brackets so that you see that it is there usually. It just tends to be forgotten or omitted. And then the last example for this section is
계상의 땡교 기 롱년대 야부충에. Or we can also say 계상의 땡교 롱년대 야부충에. Or 계상의 땡배 롱년대 야부충에.
So was the movie that I showed you last night good? Meaning, this is really meaning, did you like the movie? Did you think it was a good movie? Like chungé is asking a question. We don't have a kirang in this sentence, right? That might be a little hard for you. Kirang la yakpo chungé. Genla and I took it out really like we didn't write it on purpose so that you would get used to the fact that a lot of people will not say kirang la in a question because it's assumed that we are talking about you since we're asking a question to you, right? So this is the context for this sentence.
맞아.
And then, okay, sorry, I need to escape so that I can show you the next page. Somehow it won't let me do it manually. Okay. All right, this topic, I don't really want to get into the details of it right now just because of our lack of time. There's another way of making relative clauses with pa without the akikui. It is the same in classical Tibetan for those of you who study classical Tibetan, okay? And all you need to know is that you could say a sentence using the pa as the nominalizer, and then oftentimes the di or the te will come there, the demonstrative pronouns, as we've already kind of mentioned it before. And it is just a relative clause. But the difference between the relative clause in this format and in the format given above with the akikui is that now, because you don't have an akikui, you don't have the connective particle, the noun that is being modified by the relative clause, in this case, the kala, for example, comes before. So in this sentence, we're going to give you the other version with the other relative clause so that you can see. So first of all, let's ask Genla to read it for us.
Okay, so here also you can also this part turn into also jo as well. Okay, so also you can use also jo here. Kesa cherangi kala sebate amalaki sesum. Okay, we can also use here jo. Kesa cherangi kala sejo de amalaki sesum. Okay, so so jo is very colloquial. Pa is also more literal writing, or also it can be more classical as well. So so you can use interchangeably. That's all.
Thank you, Genna. So then, mother ate the food that you made yesterday, right? So this is that you made söpate. So if you said söpe kalak, it would be the same. So you just have two different options. Know that we're going to practice them and you're going to be familiarized with them, but time for explanations and going deeper into the subject will come at a later time in your studies. Now, be aware of something that might be a little tricky to translate also in English. And this you will also find an explanation in the book. Sometimes pa is also, I'm sorry, I missed the sa here, S, I'm going to write it in a minute. Sometimes pa is also used to mean the fact that, or due to something, or just the verb nominalized, or in the infinitive. Now, it just depends on the context, I will say. There isn't a hard and fast rule as to when to interpret it like that. So this just comes with a lot of familiarization with the language and experience with listening comprehension. That's it, all right? So Genla, could you please read the first sentence for us?
So, kerangla genla mangbo yobate pe senam chembore.
So, how to translate it? The fact that, so if we translate the yopate as the fact that, okay, the fact that you have many teachers, so de chempore means that you're a very lucky person, all right? So sonam chimpo, not so de chimpo, which they're similar. Sonam chimpo means someone that has great merit, which is very lucky. And then re, we're like affirming the reason that you're lucky is because you have many teachers. So this is a very strong sentence. So the fact that you have many teachers makes you a lucky person. I had to add the makes you in English so that you could understand the Tibetan intention behind this sentence. But nothing in this sentence indicates the makes you, okay? It is just re. You are a lucky person due to the fact that you have many teachers is another way to understand it, okay? So this can be a little tricky in terms of translation, but yopate, that thing which you have, makes you a good or a lucky person, okay? Keep that in mind. And then the next sentence can be maybe a little more clear also. Let's see. Genla.
So, kesa cherangi tukdola peje kyombate pe lembodu.
So again, translation's a little. Yeah. Okay, pe lempodu means it is very suitable for you, for your body type. It looks good on you. It's a compliment usually when you say to someone, oh, your dress is limpo or that color is limpo on you. It means it matches well with your complexion. It makes you look good, okay? So then at the end of the sentence, we're saying, oh, that is very good on you. That looks very good on you. What? Kumpa. The fact that you wore and what peche, a Tibetan dress or Tibetan attire or Tibetan outfit, wear to the party yesterday, okay? So this is how you can understand this, and maybe it'll be a good example. So that's pretty much it for this lesson. It is a lot to digest, students. Take it one step at a time. We will practice it at great length during 2 review lessons. So whatever questions you have, don't hesitate to ask us. And Genla, one more time, thank you for your patience. And
Jaeyoung, Sunny Jaeyoung.
산인제용 두지체나.
그래서 아니 산이제요 럽투소
슈아.
요거